Why is this happening? Why is that happening? You know, who created the educational system, for example, and was it for the rich? And who takes most of our money when you're stuck into a PAY system rather than having your own business? And you know, there's a lot of things that you say that I agree with, but there's one sticking point that is a little bit. Yeah, I'd like to hear more of your point of view on it. Really.
I hear you, man. So I just popped on live now. I've only been on here a few minutes. 550 people on my side. I just, basically want to say first up so everyone on my side knows. I have a lot of respect for people that are willing to debate difficult subjects that they feel very passionate about, right? So I know that you know your stuff. I've been on your lives too. I see that you're passionate about property. You're second generation, right? Second generation in the property game, right?
Well, my granddad came in the 60s and he got a little bit into property. My
Right.
dad started dabbling into property when he had a business, actually, when he started at the age of 21. And I bought my first house at 21, but I've literally
Yeah.
had nearly 10 years of experience at that point. But I was working in jobs, but I built my property portfolio as a side hustle to then reach a millionaire status at 26, multi-millionaire at 36 now. But I've diversified into property, into care homes, into residential, into HMOs, housing multiple occupancies, and I'm trying to do more and more secure deals like 4-year deals, etc., rather than doing the residential housing sort of side of things.
I get
Um,
it. Yeah,
so
no, I get it.
yeah.
No. I mean, I get. You what happens with everybody is we end up whatever path we've taken, and the knowledge that we gain. If there's success at the end of that path, 100% of the time we think that's the path everyone should take because we have had success on that path, right? And so I have met a lot of people who are trapped because of the mortgages that they're in and the house they live in. So that's my first initial problem. Actually, people that get stuck, not necessarily what you're talking about, which is you created a business around property, although we can talk about that element. But first of all, let's just tackle the first part, right? My main issue is, I've invested in 76 startups, yeah,
Brilliant.
and I probably get a couple of hundred pitches a month, people wanting to start a business or be self-employed, and 9 times out of 10, the reason they can't do it is because they've gone and bought themselves a house and they've got a mortgage. They've stretched themselves. They put all their savings into that house, and they're stuck because actually that house is not an asset; it's a liability, right? So that's actually, and as you said, you wanted to hear my opinion, and you wanted to understand where I was coming from. That's actually where my initial philosophy comes with not liking property, right? So let's just make sure we part that bit because that is not what you're talking about. You're talking about property as a business. We can come to that in a minute. But my initial issue is really from seeing hundreds and hundreds of people trapped in a job they hate to pay for the mortgage that they've got themselves stuck into, right? Sometimes those mortgages, even if they sold their house, they have massive penalties because the mortgage companies lock them in and they put all their, savings into the difference between what the mortgage was and the value of the house at the time of purchase, right? And they just don't have any spare capital to do what they were meant to do, right? And then they have no income from that property because they're living in it. And so that is my initial issue with property. It's come from research, not a personal thing. Yeah, it's come from a research of just meeting hundreds of people with brilliant ideas, with passion that are stuck in shit jobs, doing basically what the Matrix tells them to do so that they can pay their mortgage. And the biggest excuse for them not doing what they want to do is because they've got a mortgage to pay. And lifestyle inflation, they haven't bought a house, paid it off 25 years later. They bought a house, they bought a bigger house after that, they've gone again bigger, mortgage goes up, mortgage goes up, mortgage up. And they're lucky if they pay it off at 65, at which point they die in that house, house rich and life poor, right?
Yeah. So
And people,
I
when they
agree.
die, 9 out of 10 times they're asked what do they regret. They regret what they didn't do, right? And so a lot of people have bought into a lie, which a property is going to make you happy. All right. So just so you know, like, so that's just so you understand my initial issue with property is that element, right? I don't think personally anyone should buy a house and live in it on a mortgage structure when they're young, right? 20 to 30, travel the world, see what's going on, find out what your purpose is, invest in your skills, and they're the things I think people should do. Now, when it comes to property as a business, which is a little bit more, where you're coming from, I do understand the model of good debt. I'm not an idiot. Yeah, I understand the model of good debt, and I understand borrowing money and buying a house and all of that. Yeah, I guess I'm a history buff, and I see what's happened in the past. Like Monopoly, the game, was originally designed to show what happens when you create I guess, a capitalistic system around property. I'm a capitalist at heart, but when you create a capitalistic system around property, in Monopoly, there's one winner, and it will probably be Elon Musk. You've got to be a little bit careful. Now, I'll stop for a second, because I can see you want to say something. So I'll stop with my first part of my issue with property, because I see a lot of people trapped, and they're not able to follow what they're meant to do in life because they've got to stay in their shit job to pay for that mortgage that they thought was going to make them happy. So I'll stop there for a second, so I can see you want to say something, so I'll let you talk.
Yeah, so I can sort of relate on the first part as well. So I understand there's another model going on here of me having a portfolio of properties, gaining cash flow, gaining that momentum, getting cash deals, etc., to create that uplift in value, to gain that momentum. So that's a different thing. That I'm in a different space now. I understand that, but I wasn't always in this space. I started at zero properties, and it was a side hustle. Now, coming even away from the property sort of side of things, I think it's more about emotions. It's emotions that get people in trouble. It's not the actual, it's soon as people see a little bit, there's no even education around it. They're not educating people on what to do with their money. So soon as somebody has that first pay increase, soon as their partner's got a little bit money.
Sorry, who's they?
People like myself. Yeah, so people like myself. Yes, if I didn't have my father teaching me the other system of this is how to work at VAT markups, this is how we do our accounts, this is how you do LIFO, FIFO, first in, first out, this is how to ring the till, this is how we do our stock rotation, this is why you work, this is corporation tax, this is PAY tax. We take all of these expenses out and then pay the government whatever's left after. Not we pay our NI, our taxes, our pension contributions first, and then they give you the crumbs, and then you have to pay all your other expenses out of that, and then you've got nothing left.
Are you preaching to me about the Matrix right now? I don't know.
No, I don't know if that's the Matrix.
But I don't know if that's we. I mean, just for my audience, I think we're talking about the school system now, because the school system does not teach people financial literacy.
Yes.
Why? Right? Yes. Why?
Well, they don't want them to know, and I'm doing something about that. I've been in touch with some of the top schools in the UK right now, and I've got something going on that's going to be. They've got the heads of economics and business department to say, Sean, we love what you've gone through, we love the experience, your exposure, and what you've created, and we want to, and I'm going to not even I'm not going to go from 21 and teach people and get them out of it. I'm going to go where the seed is planted to create something, so where you say the schooling system, I'm very passionate about that sort of side of things. However, now it's people's emotions. As soon as they get a little bit more money, they want a bigger house. They want a bigger car outside their house, but they can't control their emotions. That's saying no.
But every single day, Sean, every single day, the media system and the credit rating system and the banks all basically are trying to brainwash people into buying more shit, right?
Of course they are.
So I don't think I think emotion in business is very good. I actually think the problem is people aren't being emotional enough, actually. And that takes me on to property, because I think what happens is a lot of very smart people have got involved in property. Imagine if you put your mind to other areas of the world that had problems, right? And this is where I start maybe encroaching a little bit on what you believe, because I know you're institutionally embedded in the property industry now. So this might be hard to hear. but I believe that the property industry has been corrupted, right? It has. I'm not talking about you personally, but I feel like the property industry, there are so many courses online teaching people how to make money in property.
I
There's
agree.
so much shit out there
There are a lot of shit
promising
out
people
there.
get rich
That's why.
quick.
That's why I'm not one of them people charging for a
I
course,
know
and I
you're not.
never
That's
will.
why I'm
And
on.
I will.
That's why you're on my live. I
And
know
I
that.
will never ever be that person. I'm the one who's saying this is
But
how it is.
let
You
me
know.
just explain. You know, because you were just chatting a minute ago and like what Simon Squibb's opinion. I want to know. I want to know. So I'm trying to tell you,
Yes.
yeah.
Please. Sorry, Simon.
And
Go on.
so no. I don't want to be rude. But I think you know. Look, what I'm trying to say is there is so much. If you had a scale of like people talking about like doing something they love with purpose, finding your purpose, enjoying what you do, right? On one side of the scale, and then this property push on the other side of the scale, it's hugely weighted. Everyone's talking about buy a property, get into the property game, do this shit course to learn to buy property, good debt, get into debt, borrow money, buy a house, rent it out. And so many fucking smart people have put way too much of their brain power on basically a simple business model, right? It is a simple fucking business model. It is simple. You buy a house, you rent it out, you have a yield. Depending on the deal you get and the property you buy, and whether it's a HMO or it's fucking simple. It is not clever business, right? Now
You're right.
you are doing things a little bit more sophisticated. I've listened to some of your stuff, but what I'm getting a bit pissed off with is that people are getting told that they can get super rich by buying property, right? And this is where I come into like one final thing, and then you know I guess I want to make sure you see where I'm coming from. I just want to help young people see an alternative, right? If you love property like you do, and I know you love property, and you see a way of making it purposeful, then do it. I'm not a judgmental person. I own a property, right? But I'm saying that there is a better way, in my view, if you want to enjoy your life, than just the property route, which seems to be the only thing I see on the table out there as far as like, you want to get rich, buy property. Come on my property course. I'll teach you how to buy property. It's fucking simple business. There's nothing to learn, right? Other than what you just described about all the account side, which you just hire an accountant to do anyway. No, I think in reality,
yeah.
well,
You need a
in
good.
reality, that is the overriding voice that people hear: buy property, rent it out, buy property. And I just think there needs to be a voice for the other side of the equation, which is build your own brand. You know, build a business that you enjoy. I think that solves a problem, right? So I think there's lots of ways to get involved in property that can actually be more positive than just buy property and rent it out. I like people to think a little bit about like, what is the purpose of that business, and that's it. You know, like I've been live since 9 o'clock this morning, and I've probably spoken to over 300,000 people today. So I just came back on live to literally talk to you and just say, you know, I hear you guys talking about property, two property guys talking about property. I can see how you're like, oh, fuck Simon Squibb, and he doesn't like property. It's not that I don't like it. I just think that there's not the only way to make a living.
And we're not
I think
saying that. And me personally, I'm very open minded. I'm not saying property is the only way to make money. Is sometimes it is very hard to work on your brand when you don't have a foundation, when you have commitments of paying rent in that case, and your council tax and all your bills, and then you're going to try work on yourself. All I'm saying is, even if you just with me, my opinion on creating a property is another version of me. That money is working for me now. So whether I do something or not, I'm going to be paying that mortgage, and I'll have some money left over at the end of it. So it's a multiple stream of income. So that property is now a cash machine, such as myself. And by leveraging, I create 10 of myself or 20 of myself, and then it becomes a cash flow. And then today, I owe the freedom of my time and allowed to think of my branding right now. All the people who I link up with, that's allowed me to do that. Is freedom of time.
I understand, Sean, I spent Monday in the garden with my son, right? And I've never bought and sold property in my whole life. So there's other ways to do it, right? It's what you're talking about, financial freedom, right? I'm saying that the property idea is overplayed, and it is pricing people out of the market. It is causing a lot of distress because people are buying third, fourth, fifth properties. It's causing problems for people, yeah. And that's why an awful lot of people are leaving London, for example, because properties has got out of control.
Well,
And
that's
people,
simple.
nurses
If
can't afford to live near the hospitals that they're working, so they're paying £100 in petrol to get there every day. So there's a problem, right? The property market is being abused. Okay. And I'm not saying it's you, I'm saying it's the industry. It's got abused, right? The property is meant to be a place where people live. Monopoly was originally designed to highlight this problem. I'm a capitalist, but I think we need some balance. And so I'm on here trying to just bring some balance to it, because you know what? There's already enough people talking about how everyone should do property. And I'm saying there's an alternative. And I'm living proof that there's an alternative. So I heard you talking about your parents' family business earlier and how hard it was for them. Well, doing a property business can be pretty hard for people. And let me tell you a killer point on this, right? My father owned hundreds of properties and died of a heart attack managing that portfolio, right? He died of a heart attack managing debt that was supposed to be good, right? And so at the end of the day, at 56 years old, he keeled over managing a property portfolio. And everyone told him it's easy money. Yeah, it's not, right? And so I vowed to build a business that is nothing to do with property. Build a business, and I'm living proof that there's plenty of different ways to get to what you just talked about, this freedom thing you talk about. And property is not the only way, right? You're still managing those properties, or you're having to manage the company that's managing those properties.
Not really. I've got
Not
contracts.
really.
Not
So
really.
I built a company and sold it and put 50 million in the bank. I don't have to manage anything anymore. And I built a company and learned how to build a company from scratch that has nothing to do with fixed assets that other people should be living in. So there's other alternative ways. That's
But
what
not
I'm
everybody
saying.
has them ideas. Not everybody has the ideas that you have to create millions or 50 million pounds.
But you don't need ideas. Oh, I did a gardening company, mate. It's not rocket science. I did a window cleaning company. I did a car cleaning company. These aren't genius ideas.
Everyone has their niches. During COVID, I set up a restaurant next to Liverpool Street. Yeah, so I went and opened up the little Greek kitchen, and all it was just street food. Yeah, so I bought some products from Almost. It's a very big chain. I don't know if you've heard of them. Yeah, and we just sold souvlakis and gyros. And we got it up to £1,000, just being a dark kitchen, not even having a shop front, just getting an Uber Eats, Just Eats, Deliveroo. It was a bloody pain, though. There were so many things. I preferred property way over that. I'm sorry what's happened to your father. So let that not get in the way of our conversation, because I'm sorry whatever's happened to your father, but there's a certain way to manage properties as well, and I'm trying to get out of the residential sector where I'm doing ASTs or short hold tenancy agreements and going further. But going back to the right route of I feel that sometimes people do just make excuses of just having that one debt over that one property. I feel that it's because they live over their means. I was brought up with a very tough family. My granddad came into this country and my dad slept on the floor, and my granddad was there, and they united together, all went out to work, and my granddad would ration how much rice or how much lentil he would buy for the family, and everything went onto the pot to go into that first business and to then go into the property sort of stuff. But I saw how much they had to sacrifice to get into a position where they could have a deposit for the second house, to buy one for my one uncle, one for my dad, one for my other uncle. I saw and a lot of people don't sacrifice. They just want to be comfortable. As soon as they get a little bit extra, 5-10 grand, it's not let's pay down this mortgage and get out of debt, or let me now reinvest this into another asset, or let me think of my business. People decide to upgrade their house. Me and my friends, my schoolmates, I'm the only. I went to a gathering with my uni friends. Yeah, we was.
Thank you, KB.
Yeah,
bring
nice.
a light moment to it.
Yeah, I know you gift to charity. I love that. By the way, I was working in the Mind charity this morning. They do mental health and stuff. So yeah, what I'm trying to say, a lot of my friends, even I went to. I met up with my uni friends. So we met up after 15 years. I did accounting and finance. I was hoping to network from this event. I was like, hi guys, we're all meeting after 15 years. We went to a restaurant, we sat down. It's like, so what you doing? Oh, I done my ACCA after uni and now I'm a chartered accountant. Oh, what did you do? Oh, I done my CMA. So now I'm a management accountant. Oh, I've done an extra course. How much are you on? Oh, I'm on 60 grand now. Sean, I was thinking of doing something else, but I'm a little bit scared. It was like they all were stuck in the system. No one, I was the only one who came out the system, who went into banking, who became a builder for 6 years. So I had a building company where I built houses as well, and I built my own extensions, which put my BRRR strategy on steroids, basically, because I cut out the middleman. So instead of spending 120,000, I was sending like 38,000 on an extension and refinance from the bank, but I didn't even know that was a BRRR strategy. But the thing I saw in myself, that, you know, I didn't sort of give up, and I kept working Monday to Friday and Saturday and Sunday to create a life. And yes, I have been to 40 countries as well. So, you know, you can do everything you want, Simon, but I feel people, you need to sacrifice that lifestyle for a little bit, hold on to a bit of money, because it's better having your own house than renting. Why would you be paying someone else's mortgage off?
So that's the argument with everybody on property, isn't it?
That's one of the things. Why would you pay someone else's mortgage?
It's a very bad argument. I just want to say, yeah.
No, but you're capable of it. Everyone's capable of it.
Give me a chance to reply, Sean, yeah? So you just made a statement, right? That kind of is always the statement that property people say, right? Rent versus mortgage. That's literally the sales pitch for everybody to buy, right? And so what I have seen is that people don't just buy a property and that's it. It's the same as rent, yeah? You can argue the rent's higher, the mortgage is higher. It depends on what's going on and what you buy, right? But the reality is, when you buy a house, you have to put down a deposit. You have to pay stamp duty. You have then the cost of managing that property. So what did I do? Right? When you're young, I went and lived on the couch of a friend in Hong Kong and built a massive, massive business sleeping on my mate's couch, because I didn't have kids, I didn't have responsibility, and I could do it. Yes, I could have got a mortgage like everybody told me to do, right? But instead, I kept myself nimble and I went and experienced the world. And that's why at 40 on a Monday, I spent the whole day in the garden with my son, TikTok, having fun. And by the way, right now I'm fighting with someone for top 10 in the TikTok ranking.
Come on, guys, give Simon some gifts. Get him to number one, guys.
No,
come on.
I give away my TikTok income, as you know, so this isn't about I'm having fun, because number 9 someone overtook me. I was number 9 a second ago, and talking to you, I've dropped a ranking, which is bad news. But it's just a game. It's all just a game. But you know, look, you just said something there. I think it's important to not, you know, I've got to highlight that it's not mortgage versus rent, right? When you're young, I have seen, as I just mentioned, a lot of people that get trapped by their mortgage. And if you've got rent, you can move out, you can rent out a room, you can keep your costs down, you can stay nimble. And when the opportunity comes for you to go where the opportunity is, you can go there. You're not tying up your capital. So I just want to say for something, I put zero money, right? Zero money into a business called Coaster Ads, right? And this business idea was simply an idea, and I pitched it to a brand, and it turned into £1.9 million profit, called Coaster Ads, right? And if I'd had a mortgage, a monthly fixed cost, I couldn't have stayed on my friend's couch and built that business, and I wouldn't have had time. I would have had a monthly cost to pay of a fucking mortgage, or rent for that matter. And so people, when they're young, should hustle a bit. And I don't think it's rent versus mortgage, because that's the problem when people haven't been educated about their options. It's not rent versus mortgage. You don't have to rent. You don't have to pay a mortgage. You can hustle. If you're doing what you love, it won't matter where you sleep. When you are single, without kids, do it. And I loved sleeping on my friend's couch in Hong Kong. It was fucking amazing. And I'm so glad I didn't have some stupid mortgage forcing me to make a monthly payment and trapping me with all my savings going into that house, right? So I don't like the argument rent versus mortgage. It's too simple. And that is a trap that a lot of people fall into, because that's what they think their two options are. And that's the problem with the education system and generally what's going on around this subject. That seems to be the narrative that everyone sells. So I've got to pick you up on it, because it's not the only two choices people have got.
But you had ideas when you were on that couch. You were working on stuff. You knew what to do.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
had the
yeah. I had
vision.
ideas because
And
I
where did
was
these ideas and visions come from at a very young age? Where did they come from, Simon?
education, hunger,
Yeah, where did
awareness of the world.
where did the
These are all
hunger come
things we
from?
should be giving to young people, but we're
Where
not.
did
We're
the
putting them in an
where
education system that they come out the other end debt. They're told to get a job. That job then says, buy a house. That'll make you happy. Then they get trapped with that monthly income requirement to pay the fucking mortgage. It traps them in a house that does not make them happy like they were promised.
so
That
where
is the
did this hunger?
reality of what I see for 99% of people. Now,
So
you're
the
lucky.
question,
You grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and that
yes.
family already had property, right? So
Well,
you're
very lucky
third
that I got the
generation, your
work
grandfather,
experience.
right?
Yes. But I grew very organically by myself. I did my own stuff. My dad had his own portfolio, but I had the right mentors around me, so I knew what I was doing. However, the question is how do you create that hunger and that desire? Because that's what I'm getting from this. Forget what you go
Education.
into, forget what you go into, but educating in what? Like what sort of education? Because you thought of so many ideas. You've every idea you seem to come up with turns into multi-million-pound idea. What's
No, I
giving you
failed
that
many
drive?
times, mate. Many times
Oh,
I've failed. You see, the education system teaches everybody to get an A, right? And so we all know A students end up working for D students, yeah?
yeah, yeah.
82% of the time,
Yes.
right? So what does that tell you?
Go on.
Well, it tells you that the education system's broken, right? So you're third generation family property entrepreneurs, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So you know that's a privilege,
A big
okay?
privilege.
And
I
so
heard the
so
stories. I heard the stories firsthand. What went wrong or what didn't, which I
yeah,
already knew. I mustn't do this. I mustn't do that.
right.
Which is what I'm
But
trying to teach my formula to people to say, I have the formula of 3 generations that has
but
never
your
gone
only
wrong in
formula you're talking
property.
about is property, right?
Well, that's what I'm an expert in. Of course, I'm going to
Yeah,
talk
but that's
about
what
that.
I'm saying.
That
The
I've
problem with
created. So,
experts is that they will always tell you what they know is the best way to do, right? In other words, you're property expert, and therefore you think the only way to
I
make money
know.
is property. And all I'm saying
No,
is
it's
that
not
is
the only
not,
way. I never said it's the only way.
because you're saying mortgage versus rent. Don't be a dummy.
I've set up restaurants and I've set up building companies and I've worked for banks and I've worked for restaurants as well. I've done quite a few things, but I know the most lucrative and the most least amount of time I need to add is in property. And I have to say that I don't spend that much time. I don't stress at all. I just go to a few lunches and business meetings, handshake on a deal, and that baby,
Wow, that's
someone's
huge privilege you've
babysitting,
got there.
that
I tell
someone's
you.
babysitting my property for the next 4 years, and I built up all of these contacts myself through LinkedIn, through meeting people, etc. Through, hey bro, can you mentor me? Can you help me? I meet people at parties. We do the exact same things as what other businesses do. Property is just another business. Yes, it's got leverage and debt on it, but it's just another version of a business. Now, what I
Yeah.
think what you're saying, Simon, is you've got the mindset. You've got a mindset of being successful and having that hunger and that drive. And even when you do fail, you dust off and you get back up. And I think that's the thing that you've got. And I think that's the
Mate,
thing that you're really powerful at. So even whether you was on a sofa or going in property, you would have been successful at anything because you got the mindset. There was something, you had a drive to educate yourself. You had a drive to learn things. You had a drive that even when you fell down, you got up. So that's the thing that you've got. And I think not everybody has what you got in terms of that.
I think everyone deserves to be given that, and it actually can be turned on in everybody.
I agree.
And
And how do we do it? So how do we do that? That's the question. The question is, how do we do that? How do we give that to them? Because you're a very special person.
I don't think so. I'm number 10 in the top 10. Someone's better than 9 people above me, mate.
Come
I'm
on,
just
guys,
number
give him
10.
some lines, man. Smash him up. But look, you're a
I,
very special person. How do you find that mechanism of what made Simon Quibb do the things he did? What's that mechanism that you can replicate on a mass scale to give it to the world? Because that's the real question here. It's not about property.
so I don't want everyone to be duplicates of me. I want everyone to find their own purpose. So what I think is no one's born anything, right? No one's born a doctor. No one's born a lawyer. No one's born Sean Land who develops property. Yeah, you're not born, right? So what happens is in the 0 to 7 years of your life, you are programmed in your subconscious, right? So whatever's happening in your family at that time, your subconscious gets taught that thing. And then by the time you're 8 or 9 and you start having conscious memory, you believe certain things through instinct, right? So what's happened over the last 50 years since the education system was invented to basically ensure people worked in factories is that people have come to believe through brainwashing of the education system that you should work for someone else, right? So the first step, I think, is deprogramming people and giving them the realization that being an entrepreneur is not that fucking hard. You're making me out to be something special. I am average IQ, right? I am nobody special. And I don't and at 14 years old, I was asked the stupid question, which is, what will you do when you grow up? And I said, I'd be a lawyer, right? At 16, when I was homeless, had no money, couldn't spell, couldn't read because I'm dyslexic, someone finally asked me the right question. Finally. And they said, what problem do you want to solve, Simon? Not what do I want to be when I grow up, right? So society has gone and structured things out, and it starts with banking system. It starts with the education system. The banks needed to lend people large sums of money. They created the mortgage system because they didn't want to own the property. They wanted you to own the property in your mind, because actually the bank owns that property. And if you can't make your payments, that property's gone, right? If interest rates do spike, prices drop, you'll be in negative equity, and suddenly from being probably a multi-millionaire, as you mentioned now, you could quite easily in 2 years' time be owing millions to the bank and the properties be worthless. It's possible, right?
Not
it's
in my
impossible
position.
for that to happen to me because I bought my house cash.
It's not possible. Right? The amount of equity I have in a lot of I keep the same. I keep a very good balance of that because I'm very risk averse as well.
Regardless of your risk tolerance, the point I'm trying to make here is that the banks created that system so they can lend you large sums of money. In reality, the bank owns the money, owns the property. Until you paid off the mortgage, the bank owns the property.
There's a risk in everything. There's a risk in everything we do, Simon. We could walk out on the road and get hit by a bus.
We're talking about property, so I'm just highlighting. I'm highlighting the system, not the property. I'm highlighting. You asked, how do we make lots of Simon Squibbs, right? And I'm answering that question. And I'm saying that actually the first step is we need to get back to the basics of people realizing that they have a purpose in this world and they can do what they want to do. They don't need to work for someone else. That's the first thing we need to do. Fix the education system so that people have, when they leave school right now, 99% of people have been programmed to think they need to get a job. Right?
But when you're a property entrepreneur and you're a landlord, you don't work for nobody else.
You work for the bank.
I don't have to answer to the bank. I stick to my rules and I just get on with it.
How many documents do you sign when you buy a property? If you do the property hustle that everyone talks about, and you get that property and you mortgage it, and then you do it up so it hopefully goes up in value to remortgage it again. How much paperwork do you have to fill out to get permission from the bank to do all that?
There's no hope in the transaction. There's no hope. We do our numbers right. We make sure there's some sort of appreciating. We're buying under market value and we know how to add the value. And you get a building team to know what these costs are and what the cost of materials. We go to building merchants. There is a whole process behind this. And that is, you do have to work in life. You do have to work to become a multi-millionaire. It isn't given to you on a plate. Everything involves work. Everything involves a process.
No, but we're not talking about work. We're talking about control, right? So if I start a business, and I've done this many times, when I start that business, no one can take it from me. The bank can't say, sorry, Simon, today your agency Fluid, which I built, the largest creative agency in Asia, which I sold to PricewaterhouseCoopers for more money than I'll ever need. No one could ever take that company from me. The bank can't ring me up one day. The bank will give you an umbrella, and when it rains, they ask for it back. Right? So you are literally beholding to what Boris Johnson does today. If he fucks up and says something stupid, interest rates go up, banks will suddenly foreclose on you if they see any danger of them losing their money. They'll take that property off you.
Well,
I own businesses
you
where that
don't
could
leverage
never
yourself
happen.
to that amount. You don't leverage yourself to that amount. There's these safety nets that you do go to,
Safety nets and all that. But a lot of
diversification
that's out
is.
of your control, yeah?
And there's a lot of process. I diversify into ISA portfolios, tax-free portfolios in stocks and shares. I've got crypto portfolio. I've got so many different portfolios
Oh,
that
God.
from
Let's
this
not talk about crypto.
from
Jesus
from
Christ.
this well here's my strategy. From my strategy, I'm still a 5x up. Even the pullback is taken and the drop, and I'm not somebody who times the top or times the bottom, because no one can do that. But I'm a long-term investor and I'm still 5x up when
But
everyone's in
you're
negative.
rich. You can do
No,
that.
it's what you mean is I'm rich. There's nothing to do with
That's
rich.
what you said. That's what you said.
It's allowed me to invest a heavy amount into this. The properties allowed me to do that, which in turn allows me to go back into the education system, which is allowing me to make apps that children can play, that is going to teach them how to play the game properly of whatever I'm portraying that I feel is the
My
right
God.
thing. And
I'm
and
so
and I've
close
got
to number 9 on the chart, by the way. Come on, guys. Hit me some gifts.
well done,
Because
well done.
otherwise I have
But
to go to bed. Guys,
I'm gonna solve.
hit.
I'll tell you something, Simon. You'll remember me. Yeah, obviously we're following each other, but you'll remember me for somebody who reaches the whole UK through apps that I'm designing in the background and through the education system of money programs I'm going to be putting in. And I've already had meetings and meeting the heads of in private schooling, which is going to be piloted across the whole of Essex sort of area, and from there I'm going to pilot onto the whole UK.
Rich, thank you. Rich,
And I know what I'm doing on this sort of topic
number 9.
and sort of subject. But I do totally agree about children being brainwashed. I remember getting out of my bed, running 6 o'clock in the morning the day I had a trip, and thinking, I don't know what's coming today, and then then being 21-year-old and going, oh bloody, don't want to see today, working for somebody else. Like, what happened to that little kid? That inspiration. I know what's coming. There's no
I hear you, man.
excitement. I
We need to
understand what
ban
you're saying.
private schools in the UK, by the way. We need to ban private schools. That's causing a problem. All the resources are going to private schools, and that is a problem. But anyway, mate, look, we had our little debate. I respect you for listening. And I appreciate that, you are a property guy, so it's always going to be a difficult conversation. And I just want to make sure that I represent the unrepresented side of this equation. Property is not the only way to make money. Property is not the only way to have a happy life. I'm just going to present that other view. And I think it's important that someone does, because fuck me, there's so many people selling property courses. Everywhere I look, there's someone promising to make you rich in property. And I think it's a bit overdone. And it's causing a lot of pain. If you look at the frontline worker side of it, no one can afford a fucking home. That is a problem.
I wish I could agree with you. I wish I really could agree with you. But my life's turned out so different because of property and what it's given me.
But you probably would have been all right anyway. You're third generation property. You're all right.
It's got nothing to do with that. I work 7 days a week from the age of 13.
You don't work hard.
I work day and night to get my deposits together and to put them deposits. And I also mentored other people around me along my journey. And a lot of them, I feel that is what's going to create change in the next 20 years, is building schools and educating people properly. I might not see it in my lifetime, but if I create that in 20, 30 years' time, people will see that. And that's what's really going to create a change. Someone who's 21, I don't think you're going to help them now, but their mind is quite set. You can tweak them a little bit and direct them a little bit. And if they don't want to change, then they're not going to change at all.
Have you been to Hong Kong, mate?
No, I've just been Thailand.
Hong Kong is nothing like Thailand.
No.
If you love property, go to Hong Kong and sit on the skyline and your breath will be taken away. Probably literally, because a bit of pollution out there. But listen, man, pleasure to talk to you. Yeah, we finally did the debate. And
come on, Simon. Thank you for giving me... Look, and I know a lot of people look up to you and they want to talk to you, and I know you're busy as well. Thank you for giving the opportunity as well. It was a pleasure speaking to someone so successful as yourself, and I thank TikTok for allowing this thing to happen. Otherwise, I would never have spoken to someone like yourself.
Thank you for making us sit on your frigging system at midnight. But Sean, I'm sure I'll see you again soon, mate. Thanks for coming to say hello. Yeah, take it easy, buddy.
All right, Simon. Take care.